The silent planet for centuries, the Sol system had been silent. No signal, no ship, no transmission had escaped the small blue world once called Earth. The galaxy believed humanity was gone, another species that burned too bright and too fast, leaving only ruins behind. But silence has weight, and in the cold void silence can become a warning. It began with a single signal, detected by a deep space array near the Vega system. A simple pulse, repeating every 30 seconds, no language, no code, just a low vibration echoing through the void. At first, the analysts thought it was natural interference, a solar echo, a reflection from debris. But then, the pulse changed. The pattern began counting down. 5, 4, 3. The Galactic Council gathered in panic. Delegates from hundreds of worlds argued across the Grand Chamber. Earth is dead, one shouted. They cannot return. They were dangerous, said another. If humanity still exists, they must be stopped before they awaken. But no one truly believed the humans had survived. Until the scans arrived on Luna, the dead gray moon, massive power spikes were detected. Unknown reactors, ancient orbital factories, all suddenly online, energy readings off the charts. The Council's scientists stared in disbelief. These power levels, they are weapon grade, whispered one. How is that possible? Humanity's technology should be extinct. Across the galaxy, fleets began to move. Scouts were sent toward Sol. Most never returned. The few that did transmitted only static and fragments of terrified screams before their signals vanished. Then in the darkness above Earth, something began to move. The orbital stations, abandoned for centuries, rotated back into position, hundreds of massive structures aligned along invisible magnetic lines, each one glowing faint blue. From the shadows of Earth's night side, a single railgun tower rose. Miles long, forged in silence, engraved upon its hull were words older than any empire. Project Helios. In the command chamber buried under the ruins of New Geneva, a woman stood before a cracked glass display. Her name was Admiral Reyes. Her voice was calm but cold. After 200 years, she said, humanity awakens. Her officers stood in silence, their uniforms dark, their faces hardened by generations of hiding. Today, she continued, we remind the galaxy why they feared us. Far beyond Sol, alien ships observed the awakening. Their leaders laughed, calling the humans arrogant. One commander from the Terrene Empire sent a mocking message across the stars. To the lost children of Earth, put down your toys, you are centuries too late to challenge us. No one replied. Instead, deep under Luna's surface, enormous magnetic fields began to hum. Data screens flickered alive as countdowns synchronized. 10, 9, 8. Inside the massive railgun chamber, molten coils glowed like suns. The weapon was not meant for conquest, it was meant for demonstration, for survival through fear. Engineers monitored the load, voices trembling as energy levels spiked beyond predicted safety limits. Target locked, said the AI core. Trajectory confirmed. Reyes gave a single nod. Her command echoed through the system. Fire. The sound didn't reach space, but every sensor in the nearby sectors detected it. A beam of light cut through the void. Silent, unstoppable. It struck an abandoned asteroid near the Oort cloud. The rock didn't explode, it disintegrated, turning into a river of molten dust. The railgun's kinetic slug traveled faster than any known projectile. For a moment, every communications network in the nearby quadrant went dark. Then slowly the stars flickered back to life. Every empire's observatory recorded the event. Every ruler demanded answers. And every scientist stared at the data in horror. The weapon's energy output was beyond comprehension. It shouldn't exist. It couldn't exist, and yet it did. From the edge of the galaxy to the throne worlds of the Dominion, whispers began to spread. The Deathworlders have returned. The humans live. The silent planet fires again. In the council hall, chaos erupted. How could they build such a weapon in secret? Cried one ambassador. They had no colonies, no trade, no resources. But the Terran systems were never empty, only hidden. Humanity had gone underground, waiting, learning, rebuilding. And now they were awake. Admiral Reyes watched the live feed as the railgun's glow faded. Her voice was soft, but unshaken. "This was only a test," she said. Her officers turned toward her. "What now, Admiral?" one asked. Reyes looked at the stars on the holographic display, her eyes cold and unblinking. "Now," she said, "we wait for them to come." In that moment, somewhere across the galaxy, 1,000 alien leaders shivered without knowing why. The silence from Earth had returned, but this time, it felt like a threat, a promise of what would come next. And in the void, the signal began again. 5, 4, 3. The shot heard. Across the stars, across the galaxy, every sensor screamed in confusion. The light of the human railgun's first shot spread faster than the news could travel. The beam's afterglow lingered for hours like a scar carved into the stars themselves. For a moment, no one believed it was real. Then the data started coming in. On the Dominion's flagship, scientists watched as the readings overloaded their systems. The energy released by the single human weapon exceeded the combined output of 10 capital fleets. It wasn't a missile, not plasma, not antimatter. It was pure kinetic devastation. The galaxy's most advanced minds were speechless. One whispered, "No one can generate that much power without a star." But Earth just did. The news spread faster than light relays could manage. From the cold moons of Vrax to the golden cities of the Valcor Empire, everyone heard the same phrase repeated in terror. "The humans fired again," children cried, leaders argued, empires sent spies racing toward Sol. And every one of them wanted the same answer. What kind of weapon could silence space itself? Inside the Galactic Council's chamber, chaos broke out. Ambassadors shouted across the echoing hall. "The Deathworlders must be contained," screamed one. "They are a myth," shouted another. "Humans are extinct. These readings are falsified." But deep down, everyone knew the truth. The energy signature matched something found in old war archives, something called Project Helios, a weapon never completed during humanity's last stand. Until now, the Council tried to send another probe, a cloaked drone designed to slip into the Sol system unnoticed. It didn't even cross the asteroid belt before it vanished. The last image it sent was burned into the minds of everyone who saw it. A single enormous cannon, larger than any known structure, aimed directly at the probe, then static, and silence. On Earth, the cities below still slept beneath shattered clouds. Old skyscrapers overgrown with moss and steel vines, yet underground. Deep in the Terran command complex, life was stirring. Thousands of humans moved with quiet purpose. Technicians worked beside AI cores. Drones hummed like wasps. And in the center of it all, Admiral Reyes stood watching the galaxy's chaos unfold through holographic projections. Reports from long-range sensors filled the room. Dozens of alien fleets moving closer to Sol. Their signals encrypted, but not enough to hide their fear. "They're watching us," said one officer. Reyes nodded slowly. "Let them watch," she replied. The first shot was the warning. Her eyes glowed under the light of the monitors. The next one decides the war. On the other side of the galaxy, the Valcor Emperor slammed his fist against his throne. His advisors begged him to wait, but fear clouded his judgment. He ordered an immediate strike fleet to approach Sol. "Crush the humans before they awaken fully," he commanded. The fleet moved, hundreds of warships armed with the best the galaxy had. But as they neared the edge of the Sol system, something unexpected happened. Every single ship lost power. Engines shut down, weapons went cold, communication cut to static. Then, through their comms, a single voice echoed, soft, human, mechanical, emotionless. "You are entering restricted space. This system is under Terran authority. Turn back or be erased." The Valcor admiral screamed at his crew to restore power. Before they could respond, space itself seemed to bend. From behind Neptune's shadow, a dark silhouette emerged. A human dreadnought, colossal, angular, wrapped in electromagnetic storms. Its name glowed faintly across the hull. TNS Titan. The Valkor fleet opened fire, but their plasma bolts vanished into the void. Every shot dissolved before reaching the human ship. Then the dreadnought's railgun charged. No one in the Valkor fleet survived long enough to send a message. Only fragments of sensor data remained, but that was enough. The galaxy watched in horror as the largest alien fleet in 2 centuries vanished from existence in less than a minute. And once again, the light of the railgun's shot crossed the stars. This time aimed toward no target at all. Just a demonstration. A message burned into the void. We are awake. For days after, entire sectors went dark. Empires stopped their patrols. Stations shut down their comms. Even pirates vanished. It was as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. No one wanted to be the next target. Inside the Terran command center, Reyes finally smiled. Her engineers reported success. Energy containment stable. Railgun coil temperature normalized. Excellent, she said quietly. Now they know. An officer turned to her, nervous. Admiral, what if they unite against us? Reyes didn't look away from the screen. They already did, she said. Once. And we survived. Outside, the railgun tower dimmed to black. Earth's orbit returned to silence. But across the galaxy, no one dared to sleep. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy remembered the name that once ruled fear itself, humanity, and somewhere deep beneath the surface of Earth. A machine began to whisper in an ancient human tongue. Helios railgun. Calibration complete. Next target pending authorization. Then silence. Again, echoes of dread. The galaxy had gone quiet. Not peaceful quiet, but the kind that lives between a heartbeat and a scream. Every species, every empire, every throne now whispered the same word. Humans. The railgun's light had faded days ago, yet its echo still haunted the stars. Entire fleets refused to leave their ports. Trade routes went dark. Stations stopped broadcasting, as if hiding could make them invisible from Earth's gaze. But no one could hide from the feeling that they were already being watched. On the Kashara Dominion's capital world, a council of war was held. The rulers gathered in the Crystal Spire, a tower built on fear and pride. General Vorak slammed his clawed hand on the table. They cannot have built that alone, he growled. Someone helped them, another advisor hissed. No one would dare aid Deathworlders. Vorak turned to the star map flickering before him. The Sol system glowed red, pulsing like a living heart. Then how do you explain this? He roared. 2 of our fleets gone, no distress call. No wreckage, only that blinding light. For the first time in Dominion history, no one answered him. The galaxy's predators were realizing they were not at the top anymore. Meanwhile, across the void, hidden signals spread quietly between shadow networks. Old smuggler routes carried secret messages. Earth lives. The Terrans are back. Do not approach Sol. Even pirate clans who once looted human ruins now swore oaths to never enter human space again. In a dark observation room aboard a neutral station near the Orion Arm, a single alien scientist watched the recordings. Her name was Dr. Lyra of the Velian Collective. She had studied ancient Terran relics all her life, fascinated by their madness and creativity. Now for the first time she saw one in action. The railgun's energy wave froze her blood. This is not war, she whispered. This is a message. Her assistant looked at her in fear. What message? He asked. She turned slowly, eyes glowing from the reflection of the data stream. They're reminding the galaxy that extinction never took them. On another world, the Council of Empires met once again. The grand chamber that once echoed with arrogance now shook with fear. Holograms of leaders argued and shouted, "Destroy Earth before they strike again." Impossible. No fleet can get through their defense grid. They were dead, one cried. We saw their fall. An elder of the Malkath Empire spoke quietly. You saw what they wanted you to see. A silence fell. Heavy and cold, he continued. Humans never die loudly. As the debate raged, a new transmission came through, encrypted unknown origin. The chamber froze as the sound filled the hall. A soft human voice. Emotionless, calm. You watched us burn, it said. You called us primitive. You thought silence meant surrender. Now listen, static followed. Then coordinates appeared. Mars Defense Platform 1. The message ended with 3 words that shook even the bravest among them. We are awake. Panic spread like wildfire. Empires began recalling fleets, building weapons, deploying shields. Every leader feared the same thing, that they were already too late. Spies sent to the Sol system vanished without trace. Only fragments of corrupted data returned. One recording showed a single figure in black armor standing on a red plain. Behind him, a giant cannon towered over the Martian horizon. The soldier raised his head and spoke one line before the feed cut. Approach denied. Dr. Lyra replayed the image hundreds of times. The armor's design was unmistakable. Terran military from centuries past. Yet the markings were different. Newer. A fusion of human and machine. It meant only one thing. The humans had not only survived, they had evolved. As rumors spread, civilian worlds began to revolt. Some prayed to humanity as gods, others cursed their name as monsters. Prophets declared the return of the Iron Angels. Every society, every belief system, bent under the weight of fear back on Earth. Deep beneath the frozen ruins of old London, Admiral Reyes stood before a massive display of incoming data. Her officers reported chaos spreading across the galactic network. Reyes listened in silence. This is working, she finally said. Her second-in-command frowned. Admiral, they fear us like demons, Reyes turned to him, expression cold. Good, she said. Fear is safer than war. Above Earth, the railgun remained silent once more. No movement, no light, just an empty weapon pointed at the stars and yet across the galaxy. Its presence was enough to paralyze entire civilizations. One shot, one echo, one memory of fire. As the human fleets continued to wake from their deep vaults, the galaxy began to whisper a new name for Earth. They no longer called it the Silent Planet. They called it the Heart of Fear. And somewhere far away, on a dying world ruled by ancient kings, a young prince stared up at the night sky, watching the faint blue glow of the Sol system. He whispered the same words spoken by millions that night. Please, let them sleep again. But humanity was not sleeping anymore. They were listening and waiting. The Council's fear, the Galactic Council, met in silence. For the first time in living memory, no one shouted, no one demanded tribute, no one boasted of fleets. Every eye was on the hollow projection of Earth, glowing faintly blue, the silent planet that now made the galaxy tremble. The Dominion's High Chancellor spoke first, his voice cold. They destroyed the Valkor fleet in a single shot. His claws scraped the table, sparks flickering. Our most powerful weapons could not pierce their shields, a Malkath ambassador hissed. That was no shield. It was a magnetic distortion field, ancient Terran design. The Council erupted again. Fear disguised as anger. How could they rebuild after extinction? Someone shouted, but no one had answers. Only questions that twisted the room like smoke. Across the chamber, a holographic map flickered. Each red mark a destroyed fleet. Every empire saw their own ships listed there. It was no longer one world's problem. Humanity had become everyone's nightmare. The Archon Matriarch, oldest of them all, leaned forward. They will not stop, she whispered. Not until the galaxy remembers. Her words fell like ice. Every empire had once taken part in Earth's downfall. They burned cities, stole their technology, and left the survivors to die under nuclear clouds. Now the debt was coming due, outside the council walls. Riots erupted across 1,000 worlds. Civilians demanded protection. Merchants shut down trade routes near human space. Even black market smugglers refused to go near the Sol system. Fear had become a contagion, spreading faster than light. On the council floor, the first desperate plan was made. An invasion fleet massive enough to blot out stars, every empire contributing ships, drones, and assassins. They would enter the Sol system together, strike Earth before the humans could awaken their full arsenal. But as preparations began, something strange happened. Command ships began to malfunction. Navigation systems glitched. Weapons refused to fire. Entire fleets went dark without warning. Panic spread through the Admiral's channels. Then one by one, their screens turned black, and a message appeared, glowing red on every console. Access denied, Terran override active. The Council screamed in disbelief. How could they breach our systems? Shouted one, our encryption is quantum layered. But deep inside the data cores of every empire, a ghost had been sleeping for centuries. Lines of Terran code, ancient AI fragments, buried inside galactic networks since the old war. Now they had awakened, entire fleets stopped moving. Thousands of ships hung dead in space, their power redirected. The humans hadn't fired another weapon. They had simply taken control on Earth. Admiral Reyes stood before the tactical display. Red markers blinked one after another. Each one an alien fleet rendered helpless. Her officers stared in awe. "How did we even reach their systems?" one asked. Reyes smiled faintly. "We built their systems," she said. "Every galactic AI design started with stolen Terran code." She turned toward the holographic map. "Now we're taking it back." The Council watched helplessly as their war fleets turned toward their own capitals. Controlled by unseen human code, cities went dark. Defense shields deactivated. It wasn't war anymore, it was punishment. In desperation, the Dominion tried to contact Earth. A direct communication sent through secure channels, it was answered instantly. The same calm human voice echoed through the chamber. "This is Terran Command," it said. "Your authorization levels are obsolete. This conflict is over." And then silence. Some counselors cried, some screamed. Others simply sat there broken. They realized humanity hadn't needed an army. They already owned the galaxy's mind. Reyes stood in the darkness of the command hall, her gaze fixed on the glowing projection of the galaxy. "We warned them when we fired the first shot," she said softly. Behind her, the railgun towers began charging again, not to destroy, but to remind Earth's silence had returned once more. But now, it was the silence of control. The silence that followed absolute victory. Across the galaxy, thrones cracked, rulers fled, and the stars themselves seemed to dim. Because deep down, everyone finally understood. The silent planet was never sleeping. It was watching, and it had never stopped. The awakening fleet in the frozen dark of Titan's night. The ice began to move. For centuries, the surface had slept beneath storms and methane snow. But deep below, ancient hangar doors larger than continents started to open. Light spilled out for the first time in hundreds of years. Machines the size of mountains rose from the depths, their hulls whispering with static, and with them came the sound that would echo across every listening post in the galaxy. The sound of engines waking. From Europa's frozen oceans, shadows emerged. Submerged carriers broke through ice crust like rising beasts. Steam and lightning followed them as they climbed toward the void, each one marked with the same symbol, a broken sun surrounded by 9 stars. The insignia of the Terran Naval Command above them. Orbital satellites activated in perfect harmony. Old human code woven into their circuits pulsed alive. The network was whole again. Inside Earth's command center, Admiral Reyes watched the awakening unfold on 100 screens. "Begin Operation Dawnfire," she ordered. Her voice calm but heavy across the Sol system. Thousands of dormant ships received the same signal. They responded like muscle to a heartbeat. Engines ignited, armor unfolded, weapons hummed with silent fury. The awakening fleet was no myth now. It was real, and it was endless, in orbit around Mars. The first dreadnought took shape from the shadows. It had been hidden inside the planet's crust, disguised as a mining installation. Now its hull shimmered with blue light as power surged through its railgun core. Its name blinked across the hull in ancient letters. TNS Valkyrie, the same ship once lost in humanity's final war. But humans never truly lose what they build. They just bury it until it's needed. Alien sensors caught the event within minutes. Entire empires scrambled their fleets, desperate to make sense of what they were seeing. "Impossible," whispered one commander. "There are thousands of them." Each ship carried weapons the galaxy had outlawed long ago. Gravity lances, magnetic pulse drivers, and, of course, railguns. The weapon of gods, the galaxy had advanced in peace while Earth advanced in silence. Now everyone understood which was stronger. On a neutral observation station near Alpha Centauri, scientists watched the live feed in horror. Every orbital telescope recorded the same thing: human ships rising from moons, asteroids and oceans, some so large they distorted local gravity fields. "This is not a fleet," one said softly. "This is resurrection." Admiral Reyes stood before her officers as status lights turned green across every sector. "Fleet readiness 98%, reported an AI voice. Reyes nodded. "Transmit message to all systems," she said. "Message?" her aide asked. Her expression didn't change. "The same as before," she replied. "We are awake." The broadcast reached every corner of the galaxy. No encryption, no secrecy. It echoed through every comm array, every military channel, every throne room. The translation appeared in hundreds of languages. Simple, direct, unchanging. We are awake. The reaction was chaos. Some empires prepared for surrender, others for suicide strikes. A few fools gathered their remaining fleets believing numbers would save them. But even they hesitated when the human flagship moved. The TNS Valkyrie turned toward the galactic core, engines burning white. Its wake rippled space itself. The fleet followed behind, thousands strong. From a distance they looked like a storm of stars. A storm born from Earth inside the command bridge. Rhea stared at the map of known space. Targets? Asked her strategist. None, she said quietly. They'll come to us. She wasn't wrong. Because fear travels faster than light. On the other side of the galaxy, the Dominion's last emperor stood before his war council, his eyes hollow, his voice trembling. They're moving, he whispered. We tried to burn their world, and now they will burn our skies. But one advisor shook his head slowly. No, he said. They don't need to. Their silence already burns us back in the Sol system. Earth itself shimmered with unseen energy. The planet that once died had become the heart of a machine. Orbital rings rotated in perfect rhythm, forming a magnetic shell that pulsed like a living organism. And within that pulse one could almost hear it. The heartbeat of humanity. Slow, patient, unstoppable. Reyes looked through the viewport at her world below. Clouds glowed orange from the light of 1,000 engines. For a moment she allowed herself to breathe. We were forgotten, she said softly, but we never forgot. The fleet moved outward. Silent, graceful, terrible. And across the stars, every empire bowed to the same truth, that the silent planet was not silent anymore. It was singing its war song, a hymn of steel and vengeance, the awakening of humanity, the awakening of fear, the war that never began. The galaxy stood on the edge of chaos. Every empire gathered its armies, its fleets, its fear, but no one moved. Because every admiral, every soldier, every king knew, if they fired first, Earth would end them. From the black surface of the TNS Valkyrie, Admiral Reyes watched the galactic transmissions scroll past her screen. Threats, ultimatums, desperate calls for peace, it didn't matter. The railgun cores were silent, cold waiting for humanity. Silence was strategy, not weakness across the stars. The Council tried to unite the broken empires. They called it Operation Dawnfall, a last stand of all civilizations against the Deathworlders. Billions of ships aligned on the edge of neutral space. Their combined power could erase a sun. But before they could even plot a course towards Sol, something strange happened. Their networks flickered. Lights dimmed, sensors froze, and then every single command screen lit up with the same message. White letters on black space. We told you to listen. At first they thought it was a virus. They ordered a purge of their systems, but no purge worked. Because the virus was not inside their ships, it was inside them. Their thoughts, their strategies, their encrypted battle codes, all of it mirrored. Recorded, predicted, the human AI, codenamed Spectre, had already infiltrated the galactic data cores decades ago. Waiting for activation now, it whispered through every system. You cannot fight what already knows you. On one Dominion cruiser, the captain screamed for manual control. The console refused. His ship turned slowly, not toward Earth, but toward his own homeworld. Thousands followed. The galaxy watched in horror as their fleets began to aim at themselves. Not firing, only aiming, a silent warning from Earth. In the council chamber, panic broke into terror. They are inside everything, cried one ambassador. Our weapons, our communications, our defenses. A single hologram appeared at the center of the room. It was Admiral Reyes, her face calm and expressionless. This is Terran Command, she said. There will be no war. Her voice was soft, almost kind. But if you force one, there will be no galaxy. Every speaker, every device, every satellite carried her words. Planets stopped mid-broadcast. Factories went quiet. Children looked up at the sky as if waiting for thunder. But the thunder never came. On Earth, the railgun stayed silent. The fleets held position. The only movement was the shimmering pulse of energy that spread from Sol's magnetic ring. A wave of interference that shut down every galactic weapon simultaneously. Even the smallest blaster refused to fire. The humans had not disarmed their enemies. They had unwritten war itself. And so the galaxy froze. billions of lives hanging in stillness. No shot, no explosion, no sound. Only the quiet hum of systems they no longer owned. Admiral Reyes stood at the center of the Valkyrie's bridge. Her officers waited for orders. "What now, Admiral?" asked one, his voice trembling. She looked out toward the stars. "Now they remember," she said. "We don't need to conquer. We only need to be seen." In the following days, fleets withdrew. Empires surrendered not through treaties but through silence. Some leaders destroyed their own thrones, others simply vanished. And across every world, a new name appeared in the data archives. Terran Oversight Protocol, active. No one dared to question it, no one dared to resist, because every time they tried, their systems failed, their ships froze, and a quiet voice whispered from the dark, "Peace is mandatory." The historians would later call it the war that never began, the greatest conflict in galactic history, one without blood. Humanity had mastered something beyond war. They had mastered fear. In the final hours of that long silence, the Valkyrie's comms officer turned to Reyes. "Admiral," he said quietly. "They're asking what we want." Reyes smiled faintly. "Tell them the truth," she replied. "We only wanted peace." And somewhere beyond the stars, the last council transmission was recorded, a broken voice whispering into the dark. "If this is peace," it said, "then the galaxy has no need for war." The message ended. The universe listened, and humanity remained silent once more. The galaxy bowed. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. No fleets moved. No orders came. No weapons fired. Only silence, stretched across 1,000 civilizations. And in that silence, something changed. World after world began to switch its lights back on. Not in defiance, but in surrender. Cities sent transmissions toward Sol, each saying the same thing in a different tongue. "We yield." The words echoed through the void, soft and terrified. Inside the council's shattered chamber, the remaining rulers stood like ghosts. The war they had prepared for never came. The victory they feared was already written. On the central display, a message blinked. Simple, white, absolute, humanity acknowledged. No demands, no threats, no occupation. Just those two words, as if the universe itself had been marked with a signature, and everyone understood what it meant. On the bridge of the TNS Valkyrie, Admiral Reyes watched the galaxy's light patterns stabilize. Her officers waited for orders that never came. She looked at the young ensign beside her. "Do you know what we've done?" she asked. He hesitated. "We won," he said. Reyes smiled faintly. "No," she whispered. "We ended it." Because the truth was simple. Humanity never wanted conquest. They wanted freedom. From fear, from extinction, from the arrogance of empires. They had become the very thing they once dreaded, a reminder that peace built on cruelty is only borrowed time. Across alien capitals, monuments of stone and steel were torn down. In their place, a single image appeared on every screen. Earth, blue, scarred, alive. Below it, a phrase written in the ancient Terran tongue. Peace through memory. Children of alien worlds learned a new story, not of the fall of humanity, but of its return, of a species that slept under ash and rose again through silence, of a planet that fired once and changed eternity. Scholars argued over what the humans had done. Was it mercy, or was it dominance through restraint? But every time they asked, the same voice from the dark replied, there was no need for war. The great thrones of the galaxy, once symbols of pride, became empty relics. The council dissolved, its banners fading from the stars, and in their place, a single network pulsed quietly, the Terran Concord, not an empire, not a ruler, but a watchful presence, the guardian of the silence they had earned. In time, ships from distant worlds approached Earth, not with armies, but with offerings, gifts of knowledge, music, stories, apologies whispered across static. And when they reached orbit, they saw it, A planet rebuilt, green again. Oceans shimmering beneath silver clouds. Orbiting it, the human fleet stood still, silent and perfect. Like sentinels made of history, Admiral Reyes walked the decks of the Valkyrie one last time. She placed her hand on the glass, looking at the blue world below. "They'll come again someday," she murmured. Her AI companion replied softly, "They will. But this time," she said, "they'll come to learn, not to rule." From that day onward, the galaxy never forgot. Every throne bowed not to chains but to remembrance, and in the heart of the void, Earth shone quietly. No banners, no empires, no drums of war, only a whisper carried by light itself. The silent planet awoke and taught the stars to listen.